Well, this video I've re-recorded a few times. There's a lot to talk about here. XDefiant servers just shut down. Mark Rubin put out a very long post that I will leave linked down below. But the key points are, the game had the best new player acquisition for the first few weeks out of any Ubisoft game ever. But he says with no new marketing, they weren't acquiring new players after the launch, so they shut down. They had big tech debt, saying that the Snowdrop engine wasn't really up to snuff for an FPS game. And they just said we didn't have enough content. He said that like season 4 and 5 and season 3, like that content probably should have been there on day one. And it leaves us now with the question, what happened to the $60 FPS game era? So I did a lot of looking up numbers and all sorts of like stats and figures so we can compare some revenue things. Because I miss the 360 era. I'm not going to lie. It's when this channel started. When you threw Halo 3 in the disc tray, you knew you were getting a great campaign on day one, multiplayer, PvE mode like Horde or Firefight eventually, and custom games. And the experience was done day one. It was there. If it was a good game, you spent your $60, that was it. You weren't missing out on anything. And now, well, we've had many, many years of drip feed, unfinished live service slop chasing the Fortnite, Apex, and Call of Duty dream. So why did the $60 game model go away? Can it come back? Why, it probably won't, but we're just going to continue to see the same darn thing happening. I wondered with XDefiant, why are the servers shutting down? It was pretty fun. How many folks were working there? What was the overhead? Why couldn't they keep the lights on? Because it was a great little arcadey shooter. I didn't play a lot of it. That's why the footage in the background is all I have. But what kind of scale did they need to justify it? If you got 5 to 10K concurrent on PC and similar numbers on console, like, isn't that enough to keep the servers going and a few new map updates over the next few years? I guess not. So if you jump back in time, Halo 3 sold over 14.5 million copies by 2012. So it grossed about $600 million. That's a lot of money. If you jump a little bit further forward, COD 2019, so Modern Warfare 2019, 600 million in the first 3 weeks. Oh, 3 days. Yeah, sorry. First 3 days, and then $1 billion in revenue by December 2019. So in other words, a blockbuster $60 console game could make $500 million to $1 billion over that lifespan. And for that generation, those numbers were absolutely jaw-dropping. But once the sales tapered off after the initial launch, there wasn't a steady cash flow, unless you bought DLC, which, let's be real, map packs back in the day, they were fun, but only a subset of the community would buy it, and that split the player base, and then you'd never get to play the maps. It was kind of a bummer. Fast forward to today. Fortnite made $5.8 billion in 2021 alone. Cumulatively, it's made more than $40 billion since launch. Apex, free-to-play game, 2019, $92 million in revenue in its first month. $3.4 billion early 2023. COD Mobile, free to download, yet by mid-2023, it had earned over $3 billion. So, take Halo 3's $600 million lifetime versus Fortnite's $5 billion in a single year, and you start to see the gap and why publishers rub their hands together and go, ooh, this is nice. It's not a one-to-one comparison, and it's not super fair because obviously the audience for gaming has exploded, and crossplay is a real thing. But if you put yourself in the developer's position, right? If you're pitching a live service FPS game today, you don't get to target one platform. These days, if you include Switch and Xbox, PlayStation, mobile, PC, you're looking at a gaming audience of roughly 2 billion active players. Obviously, mobile is like huge in that stat right there, but Fortnite is on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and mobile. Everybody with a screen pretty much can play that game. So if you go and pitch your FPS to a studio or a publisher, they're going to tell you, you got to be on everything. You don't get to be on 1 or 2 systems. You need crossplay, and that costs money. Now you've got platform certification processes for 4 or 5 pieces of hardware. You need dedicated servers per region, seamless matchmaking, anti-cheat, and it's got to work across everything. Not only that, if you're doing the free-to-play model with the battle pass and the drip feed and the microtransactions, you got to have a live operations team who's pushing weekly and monthly content. In the boxed era, you'd support Halo 3 for like 2 or 3 years. They'd throw a map pack out here and there, maybe fix a map, a new playlist, whatever. But around the 3 or 4 year mark, you got Halo 4, right? The revenue curve had a big peak at launch and gradually trickled off. These live service, games, the expectation, you have to be on every week for like potentially a decade. You're literally competing with thousands of other games clamoring for attention. And so the answer is weekly events, cosmetics, battle passes, FOMO, zero downtime. You must play our game. And if your live operations calendar is empty for a few weeks, you lose engagement, which means fewer people buying the battle passes, which means fewer resources to staff more live ops, and the spiral continues. So while yes, Fortnite's $5 billion a year dwarfs Halo 3's entire $600 million life cycle, but Fortnite made that from hundreds of millions of players spending $10 and $20 here and there on skins and emotes continually. Halo 3 got $60 once from each buyer. No recurring purchases. So while the absolute numbers look staggering, remember that if you can't break into that top bracket like a Fortnite or a COD when it comes to player base size, you're just fighting for scraps. There is less mid-tier space for those wanting to do the free-to-play battle pass drip feed model than like ever before. Back in 2007, if you sold 5 to 10 million boxed copies, that's a huge success. 5 million concurrent users these days, and pushing a few million battle passes feels almost impossible unless you're one of the known juggernauts. So why then? Why are the studios or the publishers just setting these studios up to fail, or like the games up to fail, whatever? It's such a gamble. If you're going to a publisher saying, I need 300 million, we're going to spin up our servers, hire infrastructure engineers, build a community team for weekly events, partner with a major engine, get our netcode in order, and then pray that our players stay engaged for years. Then and only then, if you hit the sweet spot, do you reap the big rewards, the Fortnite, the Apex, the COD numbers. And if you miss like a year or a month or whatever, the numbers go down on engagement. That's less battle pass sales, layoffs, studio shutdown, rinse, repeat. We've been here before. So what is the key point in all of this? Scope your vision to your resources. I think it boils down to recognizing risk versus reward and choosing a model that matches your resources, your team size, the risk tolerance, and just what's best for the player. I cannot see a future where this chasing of the massive live service route is going to work out. It's not. You can't have like 30 of these live service games that require your attention all the time. It's just not going to happen. There's a hybrid path here. Release a premium game. Maybe it's got a paid story expansion, the occasional cosmetic drop, but you have to avoid the live operations drip feed treadmill of junk that demands new content every week. And by content, it's new skins that you can sell people. Titanfall 2 nailed it, I think. Complete game at launch, great campaign, super fun multiplayer, and 9 months of post-launch content that brought new maps and modes and all sorts of things. Had we have received like a Titanfall 3, like 3 or 4 years after the launch of Titanfall 2, I think it would have been just absolutely perfect. Something the Path of Exile developers talked about at a GDC forever ago is they don't expect you to play their game 24/7. They expect that you'll try a new season, enjoy the stuff, get bored, but they want to give you a reason to come back when they have something meaningful for you to play. In many ways, getting our $60 boxed games like Halo 3, that was like a season. You knew you'd get your sequel 3 or 4 years later. You knew there would be some support on the in-between, but they didn't expect you to just continually give it every second of your attention. And that's really the point here. I wish XDefiant could still be online, could still be, supporting that player base. Look at the finals. The finals is killing it. They are totally supporting their player base. They're not worried about that infinite growth. And through word of mouth, that game has done remarkably well since it came out. Obviously, gaming is bigger now, and just comparing like the 360 era numbers to these big live service crossplay games, it's not totally fair. But ultimately, I think us as players need to support good games and talk about wanting good games. The $60 only game might be more economically sustainable for the studio. And if we see more games like it, it's good to support it, especially if it's a good, fair pricing for the consumer. The reason so many people are frustrated is they are milking this player base and giving us worse and worse games. So ultimately, Do you want 5 years of weekly live content? Or do you want a one-time purchase that's done and polished from the start? There's nuances to it, but there's gotta be a future beyond this live service madness. Anyway, let me know what you think about it down below. Appreciate you watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again very soon.